Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. Chad Himes here, and boy, do I have an episode for you. Folks, I want to warn you right now, though, before we even get into it. If your kids are sitting in the back seat listening, this might not be the one. Why? Because there might be some bad words, and that's you'll understand why. They're appropriate, actually, as we use them, yet you want to be warned. All right. Remember to check out the other podcasts that we have in the Win, Make, Give podcast network. Yet I am so excited here in season 3 as we are talking to people who are making a difference, making an impact, and helping us make more money, that we have a guest today that is going to blow your mind away with his energy, his knowledge, and his message for you. And I want to welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast, my friend, Alex Vidal. Alex, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, chat? Dude, I'm going to hire you, man. I'm going to take you around with me just to do my intro wherever we go.
You got it. I'm a gun for hire when it comes to that kind of stuff, Alex. Look, I know you. You and I have talked for a while, which is why I wanted to get you on this. Yep. Our audience, some of them might recognize the name, and some of them will have no idea who you are. Would you do me a favor and introduce yourself to our audience on how you want them to know you?
Oh man, so I am a real estate veteran. Been in real estate since I'm 19 years old. I'm about to be 44 next week. And I actually just booked a trip to Vegas last night for this weekend for my birthday. And not only having been in real estate, I also own a company called LTFS, which stands for Life's Too Fucking Short, or Flipping Short, or Freaking Short, depending on your F. You can get to choose their own. Father of 4, got a 24-year-old, have a 15-year-old, have 12-year-old twins, married to a rock star wife who is a pediatric nurse practitioner, and weekend warrior athlete who likes to compete in CrossFit and triathlons.
Wow. All right. So folks, we've got someone here who's been there, done that. And the reason I'm bringing Alex on is because we've had some conversation about his company, LTFS, right? Life's Too Short, however you want to say it. As I said, we might mention the company a few times and those bad words might come out of our mouth. Yep. We want you to be prepared. Alex, what does that mean? I mean, obviously we know what it means, yet what does it mean?
Well, that's kind of been the beauty of it as we've evolved through the LTFS, that everybody's got their own vision or version or meaning of what LTFS is, right? I can look at a broad landscape of people and say, well, hey, LTFS for me personally was when I was in my early 20s, I moved to California, I took a risk. When I was in my early 30s, I'm in Colorado, took a risk. I find myself now in Texas for the last 2 years, but I'm a Miami guy, born and raised, and I've taken a lot of risks throughout my career because I'm of the opinion life's too effing short and you got to take those risks, right? I've had friends that have similar LTFS moments where professionally they left dream jobs, they left things that you were on the surface, you'd be like, man, they looked so happy, marriages that they weren't. And they just said, screw this, life's too short, they left. To people that said, my kids are growing up, and no lie, they turn into partiers and turn into swingers because life's too fucking short, right? Like all across the board to crazy stuff where I think people, particularly probably because of the pandemic, have realized things can really change on a dime.
Yep.
And why are they holding back professionally? Why are they holding back personally? Because you just don't know when that moment's going to come where something could literally just stop in its tracks. And
what
so
was it for you? Let me just interrupt right there. What was it for you that made you say, whoa, not only do I know this in my heart, I need to start sharing this message with other people?
Great question. So I've been saying LTFS for years, only because my life has kind of been like that. Like I had my first kid at 19. And in the beginning, I realized that I was playing it very safe, even though I wasn't safe. And that's why I have a kid at 19. After not being safe, I started really mitigating the risk that I was taking, because all of a sudden, when you go from just being yourself to having to take care of the mother of your child and your child, you start to hold back on risk, right? And as I was holding back, I realized like I'm doing a disservice to myself and to my family. And so I always kept saying life's too fucking short. Like my sister's a CPA, master's degree. My brother's an orthopedic surgeon who makes millions of dollars a year. And I'm the guy that dropped out of college and got into real estate. And so to me, I've always been like, just take the risk, go for it. And looking back at my life, and again, I'm only 43, I'll be 44. I realized that I am who I am today because I've said life's too effing short. And so what led to that message was, and I don't know if you want to interrupt me or so I can go on a rant, but I found out I have 12-year-old twins, right, Chad? And my 15-year-old and one of my twins are heavily into sports. I'm in the sports. If people were watching this video, they'd see all my triathlon medals. And so I can connect with them really well. And I have another 12-year-old who's been kind of the quiet gamer one. And we found out he had a girlfriend when all of the time we thought he was gaming on his phone. And I said, oh shit, I got to really connect with him. He's really growing fast. I know he loves to make money. What can we do? And I looked at my wife and I'm like, that's it. I've been toying with wanting to do LTFS. We're going to do it. And I've been doing it with him ever since.
So you've made a business out of the message, life's too effing short.
Yeah. It was interesting because we had a lot of people tell us you can't make a business out of it because you have the word effing in it. I don't actually have the curse word. It's F-ing.
Right.
And I learned you got to really be careful who you take advice from because here are people giving me advice on apparel who had no idea about apparel. And I launched it in 7 months ago. And in the 7 months that we've done it, we've had, 600-700 sales already. And people who have really grown to embody the brand to where man, the social media without them asking, they're posting it all over the place. It's awesome.
All right. So it's apparel. So folks, if you're looking for a hat, if you're looking for a hoodie, if you're looking for, and we know we all love our hoodies, you're looking for a t-shirt, whatever it is, men's, women's, and you want that message shared out there, all you got to do is go to life's2effingshort.com. And that's TOO, right?
That's
for
right.
those of you who don't know your grammar and all that stuff, right?
That's right. LIFESTOOFINGSHORT.com.
And we'll have a link in the show notes for you guys. Okay, so you brought this to give your kids something to connect with, something to build, something to do. So you're telling me that 12-year-olds can do something more than just play video games all day.
Oh yeah. And here's the crazy thing about what I've learned. What I've learned with my boys is they had this genuine thirst to understand the business. I remember, and now both my twins are in the business. My initial twin, who's the numbers guy who get in trouble at school because he'd answer a math problem without writing out the problem. He's just that kind of a wizard.
Yeah.
He's all of a sudden, he's looking at the P&L and he's like, all right, so we sell a hat for $35, but we don't make $35, Daddy, do we? I'm like, no, because hey, Luke, how much does the hat cost? Well, it costs this much. What does the box cost? What does the label cost? What does shipping cost? What does the merchant fee cost that Shopify charges us? And then all of a sudden they realize oh, no wonder these people are charging this price because they have all this overhead, associated with it. My other son is hey, so essentially I pay them 50 cents per item to be packed, and then we pack it together. So I'm folding the shirts myself, and my other son comes to me and says, all right, Daddy, you're going to pay me 50 cents to pack the shirt. What if I folded the shirt too? Would you pay me for that? And Chad, I looked at his name's Kyle. I go, Kyle, I'm like, dude, you don't know how to fold shirts. He's like, no, Mommy taught me how. And sure enough, the kid folds the shirts. All right, I'll pay you 50 cents. And so he learned how to maximize his, maximize the opportunity, right? Where all of a sudden it's the same order, but now he's making $1 per item instead of 50 cents per item because now he's folding the item and shipping it. So they're learning all these different things. So then they get into, well, all right, let's say I bought 100 hats at $15. Well, how many hats and I'm selling them at 35. Well, how many hats do I have to sell just to break even on the investment to where now I finally started profit? And those are the kind of conversations that we're having behind the scenes to where they're coming to me. And if we're having a slow day, they're like, hey, Daddy, why don't we have orders? What's going on? Yeah.
It's
pretty cool.
All right. So folks, we're making a difference. We're making an impact. We're having this message that gets out there. And Alex is here helping his kids learn how to make more money, just like we're talking about in season 3. So what's that message that you've got, that you've always said, that's always been your quote, that's always been your go-to, that needs to end up on a shirt, that needs to end up on a hat, that you can put your kids to work, teaching them how to build a business to sell stickers, hats, whatever that says your stuff on it. All right, Alex, you've taken the risk. You've believed LTFS for your life. When you got that message, it came to you at some point in your life and it stuck with you. How often does it work? And how often has it blown up in your face?
Well, I think it blew up in my face. It's funny because it's a quasi where it blew up in your face, but it also fuels it too. Back in 07, 08, when the real estate market imploded, we imploded along with it. We lost everything.
Sure.
Right. And what's interesting about it is we're back. We bounced back. We're stronger than ever. My wife and I have been separated twice, and we have the strongest marriage we've ever had right now, where we can go through war. And so you realize that what holds a lot of people back from taking the leap is their fear of being able to bounce back from it. And so maybe we overextended ourselves with real estate investments in 07 or before, prior to 07, where it imploded, where I looked at it and said, hey, that was a big risk, where I said life's fucking short. It did cost me, right? But I bounced back. So why would I be afraid of taking risk? I've already proven that I can bounce back twice. So that's where it's cost me, where it didn't cost me. And what's an interesting life lesson that I learned 2 years ago, Chad, was happiness can act as an anchor, right? And this is a very interesting thing that I've been dwelling on a lot. So I moved to Texas 2 years ago to run a real estate brokerage or the DFW region for a real estate company.
Yep.
I left a real estate company in Florida that was privately owned. I could do whatever I wanted. It was privately owned. I was the president of the company. I built it. I can travel whenever I want. For my podcast, when it was airing, I could travel across the country, spend whatever I want. We loved our house. Like, when I tell people we weren't happy, it was because we were ecstatic. Okay. Our yard, my boys play soccer. We had an entire soccer field in the back. Everything was awesome. But I looked at where I wanted my life to be in a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now.
Yep.
And what I wanted to do is I wanted to go national. And because I was with a company that couldn't go national because they were privately owned, they had no intention of growing it, et cetera, then I was faced with an LTFS moment. The LTFS moment was, do I stay here? I'm happy. I'm content. And it satisfies me today, but it doesn't satisfy me for tomorrow. And that was an LTFS moment where it worked out, because now I've been 2 years with the company. We're talking about going national now. And so actually we are national with the coaching program that I have. And so it's already starting to happen. And that's where I looked at an LTFS moment and said, take the risk and go for it. Here we are.
Okay. So I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast and some of our audience knows or doesn't know. I'm going to not give away the ending on this yet. Bucket lists. I mean, when it comes to, the message of life's too effing short, a lot of people talk about bucket lists and stuff. What are your thoughts and what are your feelings on the bucket list that people make?
I think they're great. I have a few bucket list items. I want to do a safari in Arizona. I want to fly in the
Wait. Safari in Arizona?
Right. No, not Arizona. Africa. I don't know. I have right before this meeting. That's what I love about podcasts. You can fuck up and keep going.
Because we're not going to cut that out either. We're just going to keep going.
No, please don't cut it out. No, to the contrary. That's why I love filming live, because when people mess up, we just keep going. No, in Africa. I think a safari in Africa would be freaking badass. And then another bucket list item is I want to fly in a fighter jet. I think that's something that would just be pretty sick.
Sitting in the back seat, holding on and not throwing up too much.
That's the goal.
Okay. Got it. We know some people. We might be able to hook you up on something. So, folks, here's my thought, right? Alex is sharing a message that life's too effing short. And I challenge people all the time to write out your bucket list and then narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down until there's one thing on that list, and then just go do that in the next 12 months. Because life is too effing short. And if Alex is saying he wants to go on a safari to Africa and he wants to fly in the back of a fighter jet for an experience that's going, hey, who knows what happens a year from now?
Sure.
And like you said, boom, COVID hit us all of a sudden, and what got changed, right? All these things hit us, and what changed, and the economy, who knows what changes. Do it while you can, because we never know when that life is going to end, because it is too effing short. And sadly, we don't know the end date. And that's my concern with bucket lists.
We had an LTFS moment as early as this past Sunday. My wife and I were sitting by the pool. We really haven't been able to travel since we moved to Texas without our kids, because my family's all back in Florida. And, so we booked this weekend getaway to San Antonio, right? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with San Antonio, but San Antonio just didn't sound really sexy to me, right? Okay. And, but we looked at it because it was affordable, because during the summer, for my boys who are involved in soccer, we have to travel to San Diego, Colorado, Georgia, possibly New York, and Europe for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Just for soccer. Okay.
That's dedication.
And if you look at the cost of flights lately, I mean, I just booked a flight from Dallas to Seattle for work. It was $1,300.
Right.
It's nuts. So I'm like, babe, I don't even know if we're going to be able to afford to go on vacation this summer, let alone, because of all the trips that are going on.
Yep.
So we're sitting by the pool and we got a notification on Expedia that the flights had dropped because we were toying with the idea of Vegas, but it was super expensive. The flights had dropped for that weekend, this weekend coming up that we wanted to go. We looked at each other like, fuck it, let's do it. Let's do fucking short. We booked a trip to Vegas and we go on Thursday night.
There you go. Right. So you got to take advantage of those moments that you're having. Why are you working so hard if you're not going to enjoy the opportunities when they come in front of you to be able to say, let's go, let's grab it, let's make it happen. All right. You're a weekend warrior, you mentioned.
Yes.
All right. You got a whole row of medals. They can't see you. I can see you, Alex. You got a whole row of medals back there. Let's talk health for a little while. Has health always been something that's a focus of yours? Have you always been a healthy guy? Or
yeah,
the lifestyle you lived, were you kind of out of whack on that for a while?
Yeah, no, I would tell you that for the majority of my life, it's been a main thing. I've been doing sports all throughout grade school, high school, football, basketball, baseball, soccer, track, all that stuff. But I would tell you the large focus of my health journey, let's say, has really been, let's say 2010 is where I found myself in a spot that I was not liking the way I looked in the mirror. And I really got back into it and I haven't looked back since. It helps having a wife who's ripped because it makes me have to stay and keep up with her, But then I found that there were benefits that went beyond just, hey, great, you look good in the mirror. It became my therapy, right? The ability to have something that gives me anxiety and be able to let loose on a barbell or, give a run everything I got. To where when I was done, I was exhausted. I'm like, man, I feel so much better now. To that evolving into racing into, rather long triathlons, half Ironman that can take up to 6 hours for me, at least. My fastest one was like 5:40 or 5:35. And it's amazing. No music, right? You can't race with music. So you're biking, you're swimming 1.2 miles. Okay, great. You bike 56 miles, no music. And then you have to run 13.1 miles.
Right.
And you start to really suffer. And that's where you discover yourself, because when you suffer and you finish and you get that sense of elation and like that release, you realize like this other shit that we've got going on in our life, you're going to get through it and you're going to survive. You're going to be a lot happier. And you're going to be happy on the other end. You just got to keep pushing through it. And so it's just become a real deep passion for everything that it does besides the physical.
Interesting. Folks, think about that. Think about the opportunities that Alex is sharing right there, right? You want that moment with yourself. You want that self-therapy meditation moment. Go out for a run, get on a bike and go for a while and don't have any music playing. Let the world just come in and go out and let your thoughts come and go. It's one of my favorite times. I come up with some of my better ideas on a run without any music. So I absolutely get it, Alex. All right. So give everybody a final message, right? Life's too effing short. We know it, folks. You can go to life's2effingshort.com. The link will be in our show notes here if you want it. And we'll post it in our Facebook group as well so that you can go check it out if you want and you want to walk around wearing the message. Give our audience something that we haven't talked about in that message of LTFS.
Oh, man. Good question. Let me think about that. We didn't prep for this, which is my favorite because I hate prepping for interviews because then I overthink it. I would tell you probably one of the greatest things I've learned thus far is it doesn't matter who doesn't believe in you as long as you're not one of them. And if I were to look back in my life and think about when I moved to California, everybody thought I was nuts. When I moved to Colorado, everybody thought I was nuts. When I moved to Texas, absolutely everybody thought I was nuts. And you're not going to do it. You're not a corporate guy. You're not going to excel. They're going to burn you, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Right. And even though a lot of people didn't believe in me, I ultimately did. That's why I took the risk. And so I would tell you, doesn't matter who doesn't believe in you as long as you're not the one.
All right. That's a great message. Now, folks, don't leave. We're not done. No, I'm not setting us up for the end. I'm actually going to flip. no segue here at all. I'm going to completely flip. Alex doesn't know this is coming. I'm completely going to flip. All right, Alex, you are successful in the real estate industry.
Yeah.
And you're in a high leadership position. You mentioned coaching in there already. You had a podcast on it. I believe your podcast was called
The Closer Club.
The Closer Club. Okay, so we have a lot of people that listen to Win, Make, Give that are entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Give me a tip. Help them be a better closer. Help them be a better entrepreneur. Obviously, implement the LTFS lifestyle at work, which I know you'll tell them. Yet, give me another tip from over the years that if you want to be a better entrepreneur, do this.
All right, I'm going to give you 10.
Woo.
Is that okay?
Sure. Look at that, folks. I'm glad you stayed.
Because I get asked a lot. It was actually, I just did a talk in Miami. The talk was titled, my first paid speaking gig, by the way. Which
Congratulations.
Cool. It was Life's Too Effing Short, How to Achieve Your Goals.
Okay.
And essentially, I've had $11 billion of net worth on my podcast. And I get asked a lot, what are some of the common denominators? So without going into detail into all 10, I'm going to show you what the 10 are.
Okay.
Number one, there's a detail to each one, but I know we're limited on time. So you can ask me on any one.
Okay.
First one, dream so big that when you tell everybody what your dream is, they think you're crazy.
Yep.
Number two, be very careful who you take your advice from. Meaning, if your kid is sick, you don't come to me to get advice. You go to my wife, who's a pediatric practitioner. Right? So be careful who you get your advice from.
Okay.
Three, you pay yourself to be surrounded by people better than you. You, for example, as a coach, there's somebody you can pay to have a coach in your life. Number four is the breakthrough moments that you see people having all over social media, their highlight reel. David John said it best. My overnight success was 7 years in the making.
Yep.
Number five was, and I'm trying to do this off the top of my head. Normally I have number five. I'll go to number six. Number six was, so I'm going to remember number five in a minute. Number five was believe in yourself, even when no one else does.
Okay.
Number six is it's all your fault. Because when it's your fault, you can actually break it down and make a change. But as long as you blame the market or COVID or this or that, you can't control any of that. You can only control what you can control.
Okay.
Number seven is you need to have an inner motivation. Moving to Texas, I brought my wife and my kids. I can't fail because if I fail them. So that's an inner motivation. Number eight is the environment. I think if you want to win in business, you need to surround yourself with the right people. Number nine is, so we got inner motivation. How? I have these race medals up for a reason. You just don't show up to a half Ironman. There's a lot that goes into it. Same thing for success. You just don't show up and be successful. You got to do something when you show up.
Yep.
And then number 10 was my personal one, which we shared already, which was don't let happiness be an anchor in your life.
That's awesome. Folks, you came to learn that life's too effing short. You came to hear a message about that. And then boom, we're going to throw in 10 ways to achieve your goals by remembering that. Now, I'm going to make you go back and hit rewind and listen to these again. Maybe I'll get them from Alex and I'll print them up and put them into the Facebook group. Maybe not. You might just have to go rewind. I want to catch those 10 again as Alex busted through that list. Alex, if they wanted to connect with you, they want to know more about those 10. They want to know more about you. How do they go about doing it other than visiting life's2effingshort.com?
Yeah, well, if they visit the website, they're going to see great merchandise with hats and beanies and hoodies and t-shirts and all that stuff. But Facebook, Alex Vidal, it's a picture of my wife and I. Instagram, at Vidal Alex. TikTok, at The Closer Club. And LinkedIn, Alex Vidal.
All right, folks, now you know how to find them. Now you know how to learn more about life's too effing short. Now you understand the message a little bit. Here at Win, Make, Give, we're challenging you this season. Make a difference, make an impact, make some more money. So make a difference and make an impact in your world. Be selfish for this one. Figure out a moment right now that you need to say to yourself, life's too fucking short. So you act. Alex, on behalf of Ben and Bob, who weren't able to join us today and our whole audience, I really appreciate you taking the time sharing today.
You got it, man. Thanks, Chad. This is awesome, dude.
My pleasure, folks. Until the next episode, make sure that you've shared. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any. Make sure you've joined our Facebook group, Win, Make, Give. And until then, do good.